Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and thought I would do a little reloading chat for you guys and resize a little bit of 45 brass and rehash or do a part 2 of one of the most popular videos I've done on this channel because things have changed a little bit, right? Things have changed. And I made a video, again, it's my smaller channel, but it's, again, probably, I think the third most popular or most viewed video I've ever done on this was discussing if the 6.5 Creedmoor could replace the 308 as a shit hit the fan cartridge or as a prepper round. And you guys know the 308 is my preferred prepper cartridge, right? I really like it. Really like it a lot. And I think it's a very, very versatile cartridge. And even though I like 223, I think the 308 brings more to the table. I really think it does. But in a lot of ways, the 6.5 Creedmoor bridges the gap and in some ways is superior to the 308. But I think for a lot of us, what it comes down to is economies of scale, the ability to stockpile it, no military surplus, things like that. But some of that has changed a little bit. And I think because of the sheer popularity of the 6.5, we are seeing a shift, and now that SOCOM has adopted it, and the Army is looking at it as an actual primary cartridge, which they are. I've seen several write-ups now to where they are reviewing it closer and considering it. If that happens, we will see military surplus. That's going to bring the cost down. That's going to bring the cost down. But we are seeing a lot more popular manufacturers making auto-loading rifles, right? We're seeing AR-10s and things in it. A lot of them. Several companies that come to mind immediately would be like Smith & Wesson and CMMG. And the Smith & Wesson MEP-10 has always gotten stellar reviews from people who have experience with it, particularly for the price point. Well, they do it in 6.5 Creedmoor now. And again, a lot of people are really liking the CMMGs also, which is their company can be hit or miss. You know, some people say occasionally they put out something that's not that great, but overall they're a good company. They have way more good than they do bad as far as what people say about their products. So we're seeing all of that, and then we've got to look at the economies of scale that are shifting. Like I've noticed now when you go online and start using ammo search engines, like Hornady is producing relatively cheap bulk packs of match grade ammo. And that's important for the brass end because ultimately what we're seeing is that even though a lot of companies are making the brass, even, you know, Starline's making the brass, both I think small and large rifle. Lapua makes the brass, everything else, it still costs more than 308. Still costs more than 308. Hornady is the only one really making a difference here because even Sierra doesn't do bulk packs, and if you're a prepper, you're not buying your bullets, your rifle bullets, your open pit matches 100 at a time. If you can avoid it, you want the 500 pack, so they cost less, right? Sierra's not doing that, so you end up paying more per bullet for something like a 143 Sierra than you would a 175 for the 308 per bullet, even though it's lighter. So normally we would think less material, we can get it cheaper. Sierra's not playing ball there. Starline's not playing ball. Lapua's not playing ball. Everyone's brass and bullets still cost more. Then you look, Hornady is trying to really cash in on the popularity of the cartridge. Because again, everyone's bolt guns come in it now. Everything from HOA 1500s to Ruger precision rifles for your bolt actions. You're getting all these autoloaders. We're still in a situation where the cost of ammo is prohibitive for stockpiling large amounts of the cartridge. But like I said, Hornady is making a difference because if you look around, you can find a lot of their big value packs of loaded ammo already. So you're getting something like a 140 grain match round using Hornady brass. And Hornady brass isn't terrible. It's not the best, but it's not bad. 80 cents a shot. Now that might be pretty expensive. A lot of guys are going, man, that's you know, $400 for 500 rounds. But if you think about it, that's not that bad. Particularly you end up getting 1,000. Let's say you buy 1,000 of those as your main stockpile to shoot and reload off of for your prepper stash. $800, that's a pretty steep investment up front. But when you start thinking of the cost of brass and everything, it's really not terrible. Then Hornady is offering bulk packs, so you can end up getting the bullets in some cases because of their bulk packs end up being slightly lighter, like a 140 grain versus, again, a heavier 168 or 175-ish range, you end up paying about a penny less a bullet for the value packs. All right, so if you do something like Hornady and you start with a lot of their preloaded big value bulk packs, and then you buy the other stuff to reload off of, your economies of scale are changing. It's just that you can't do it with every company. You're not going to do it with Starliner, Lapua Brass, and Sierra Bullets. You're still going to pay more. But you start looking at some of that stuff with Hornady. If you buy that first round through, already loaded, and then you reload after that, and you're going to get several shots out of each of those 1,000. That's getting pretty good. Technically, you use a little less gunpowder on top of it. So you might be saving half a penny a reload on the powder versus the 308. That's getting respectable. That's getting very respectable. Now we're getting to something that people can prep with that can contend with the 308. Because, I mean, when people are going to argue on the other end, size and weight, actual power, everything else, yeah, the 6.5 is a slightly lighter bullet. And maybe, I think at the muzzle, I think it has a hair less energy. But you also don't have the inertia of the bigger bullet. And I do believe that matters in close, but either one is a beast in close. I mean, this is a lot more than a 223 at 50 or 100 yards. And you need this to be versatile. Your prepper rifle cartridges need to be versatile at short range and long range. Although, I mean, again, if you're forced to use them, you're more likely to need them at short range. But with the 6.5, what you're looking at is extended range. At 500 yards plus, it flat out beats the 308. Not just in terms of terminal ballistics, but in terms of wind drift, so you have more margin for error. It's a better long-range cartridge. Now, I still like the 308 for up-close hunting more, but some people would argue the 6.5, it has more sectional density, a hair more velocity, a slightly lighter bullet, but better sectional density. In theory, it might do just fine on big game and close, and I'd be inclined to say so. I don't see any reason you couldn't take down a bull elk or a mule deer with a 6.5 Creedmoor at 100 yards. All right, I don't see any reason at all why that can't be done. In fact, at those distances, even the inappropriate ammo, you could still probably take them down in a prepping situation. Even if you weren't using the ideal round, let's say you're using your open tip matches, you still could probably be okay with that. It's still a pretty good amount of energy. People have been killing these animals with 270s for years. And a 6.5 Creedmoor is a little bit better, I believe, than a 270. So it would be fine for that. But what you are getting out of it, it's slightly lighter ammo. You know, that's the only real advantage. What is the advantage people say about the 223 over the 308? Well, the rifles are a hair lighter, but the ammo is lighter, so carrying 200 rounds weighs less, right? Less recoil. Well, the 6.5 Creedmoor does bridge the gap there a little bit. It is lighter. I think we're dealing with about 10% less weight. Might be 15%, but I think it's 10% less weight per bullet, which isn't much if you're only carrying 50 or 60 of these, but if you start carrying 150, 200 of these, that weight adds up. That could be substantial. What about the recoil? It recoils slightly less. It does recoil slightly less. It's a slightly lighter bullet with slightly less gunpowder. That's less recoil. The downside, you do need a little bit longer of a barrel. So the rifles themselves are not necessarily going to be lighter because really to get the sort of efficient burn you might get out of a 20-inch with a 308, you almost need to go to a 24 for the 6.5. But it's not to say that, again, a good survival auto-loading rifle couldn't be 20-inch in those. I mean, I think it could be. You could probably get away with it. Hell, people run 16-inch on 308 all the time in survival-style type rifles for their prepping. And they're more than comfortable with that. It's just that you are losing a little bit of power. You are losing a little bit of terminal ballistics further out, but it's not a lot. So, you know, people could probably get away with a 20-inch. So it's got a lot going for it in regards to all that. Again, the downsides, though, are that, you know, it burns out barrels faster. That's what's been complained about in theory. But if you get good barrels and you've got a good replacement barrel, not that bad. But what people are saying, on the other end, the brass lasts longer. And when you start looking at the cost of brass for these full-powered cartridges, when you're paying $400 plus per 1,000 rounds, you know, what are you paying for a good barrel? You're paying less than $400 for a good barrel. So you're going to pay more for 1,000 rounds of brass for either one than you are for a replacement barrel for some of these rifles. And what people need to remember, even in a prepping situation, even if you've burned the barrel out, let's say you've put 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 rounds through your 6.5 Creedmoor auto-loading rifle, not sure you're really going to do that in a survival situation, but hypothetically, okay, it's no longer going to be really good precision because people aren't making the cold hammer forged barrels for them yet that I see, not in autoloaders. They are in bolt guns. Calm down, buddy. Calm down, Nova. They are in bolt guns, but you're not seeing them in the autoloader, so you're stuck with stainless. But even then, let's say you get to that point where you start dramatically losing accuracy and it goes to a 3 MOA rifle, and you can only hold 8-9 inch groups at 300 yards. That's still a minute of bad guy. You can still defend your life with it. So overall, I think it is getting much closer to being able to replace the 308 for that role. I think it absolutely is getting closer. I'd like to see ACOGs come out with a reticle for it. That would actually change my mind considerably with all the other factors coming up. But we'll watch and see what happens, because if the military picks it up more and more, Trigicon will absolutely make a reticle for it, 100% chance. And that would solve that, wouldn't it? Alright guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.